We're back. Thanks for staying with us. Joined now by Shannon Wilkinson. She's the CEO of Tego Cyber Incorporated. TGCB is their stock symbol. Shannon, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Don. Thanks for having me again.
I'm so excited to have you in the program this week because we no longer spoke to you about 2 weeks ago, and boom, we had that Colonial pipeline hack. This is just what you were talking about.
Right. So just security, cybersecurity for enterprises, and of course, critical infrastructure, not only in the US, but everywhere is really a concern that we have. And we see the impacts that these kind of cyber attacks can have in shutting down operations of businesses or pipelines. So just cybersecurity is needed everywhere. And I think now with this Colonial pipeline attack, we see really the impacts and the need for cybersecurity. And I think there will be a call and a lot of attention paid to, cybersecurity investment within organizations now, and also coming from the government side as well.
Well, it's interesting because I think when people think of cybersecurity, they think of their credit card information being hacked and that kind of thing. This is much more deep rooting.
Yes, absolutely. So for a lot of us consumers or, just ordinary citizens, we think cybersecurity, we think about identity protection, the security of our data, and we don't really think of the impacts of these kind of ransomware attacks. But we've seen through the pandemic this incredible rise in cyber attacks. The FBI estimates that there's been a 300% increase in cyber attacks during the pandemic. And it ranges from data breaches to the ransomware attacks. But ransomware attacks are shutting down manufacturing plants, and they've shut down the pipeline, and they shut down the ability of organizations to provide customer service and provide their software platforms. So there are wide-ranging effects to cyber attacks that organizations need to think about. And then there's also this idea that cybersecurity is super complicated, but it really isn't. For us normal consumers, cybersecurity is kind of easy. Don't use the same password on all of your online accounts. Make the passwords different. Protect your data. Don't give data to people that you don't know of. You can get temporary credit card numbers for shopping online from your banks in some cases. So there's a lot of simple things that we can do to protect ourselves as consumers. And there are also a lot of simple things that organizations can do to protect themselves as well. Threat intelligence, of course, like Tego is one of the things, but again, simple things like password management and password security, or segmenting networks so that not everything can talk to each other. For instance, human resources doesn't need to talk to the production facilities at a manufacturing plant, and those kind of things. Things that we should do as cybersecurity best practices, but sometimes don't necessarily do.
Well, let's talk about, let's imagine for a moment that the Colonial had been your client. Could you have prevented or alerted them to the hack?
I don't want to say yes, 100% we could have. Of course, had they been monitoring their systems and had they been using Tego's threat intelligence, we may have picked up on it. We could have alerted them if that information was in a threat intelligence platform. So absolutely. If you look at some of the things like, let's say, look back to the Sony attack, where the attack and the attackers were in over a 6-month period, those kind of things with monitoring and with threat intelligence can easily be picked up on and the clients alerted. Typically, we see organizations actually don't realize that their systems have been compromised and that they have people in their systems for, I think the statistic is 206 days that it takes them to identify attackers within their systems. A few weeks ago or a month ago, there was a new news that came out that basically said, well, enterprises are able to identify attackers within their systems much faster. They're doing it now in about 24 days, not necessarily because their protections are better, but because attackers were actually launching their attacks faster once they compromised a network.
Tell us again what's special about your system.
So Tego Cyber, we're a threat intelligence company, and what we do is that we integrate into existing cybersecurity tools. So something called a SIM platform. SIM is Security Incident Event Monitoring. I believe I got that acronym right. But really, those are the systems that enterprises use to take in all the data from their computers, from the antivirus, the servers, the firewalls, basically anything that can generate a log and send data to a data warehouse. That's the SIM platform. Tego sits on top of that platform with a threat intelligence plugin and add-on that basically searches through the client's data warehouse and identifies threats within the client's enterprise environment, pops up an alert, and then gives the security operations teams the information that they need to not only identify the threat, but know exactly what it is about that threat that they need to be worried about. Say, for instance, this IP address is bad, but we also give them all the additional information of that IP address is bad because it's associated with, this ransomware attacker, and they're coming out of this country, and it's touching these 5 machines. You should go take a look. And that allows the security operations team to basically spin up their incident response teams and make a quick, informed decision about how they need to react to threats identified within the environment.
The company's Tego Cyber Incorporated, TGCB is their stock symbol. Shannon, excellent interview. Thanks so much for joining us once again.
Thank you, Don.